Coach Frese and Diamond Miller here. We'll let Coach start us off, and then we'll do questions for Diamond.
It's hard to believe that we are now playing our last regular season Big Ten game. And, obviously coming off of a really emotionally high game where we played extremely well, but now needing to kind of refocus and understanding just the pride factor that Ohio State's going to have. And it's their senior night and going on the road. So mentality that we're really going to have to be locked in and ready to compete and execute the game plan. And I think that's the thing, is just bringing 40 minutes of our defense, and obviously a pressing team. So if we can get stops, they can't get into their press, or when they are pressing, being able to value the basketball with the mentality to break it.
We'll take questions for Diamond here in the room first. Go ahead, Ian.
Hey.
Over the course of your 4 years, you've had some big wins and some very exciting wins. How do you, as a player, kind of mentally celebrate those big wins, but then coach and have you be like, all right, we celebrated, we have to move on, we have a huge game coming up.
Yeah, you try to give yourself that night, maybe the next morning, depending on the schedule, but just give yourself that night but you got to come back again, and we got to do it again. You want to keep having that feeling. You got to continue to get better and keep doing what you need to do in order to win the next one like that. So not that much time, to be honest.
And specifically, what challenges do you think that you guys are going to have to be cognizant of, specifically based on?
I think just their press and their shooting ability from three. Sometimes we struggle guarding the three, and I think we did a great job last game, but we just have to be consistent and guard the three again, because some people that are not shooting well are shooting well now. So we just got to really lock in and not just focus on Taylor, and make sure the other players don't get hot either.
Yeah, obviously last game against Ohio State, you had a good game. It was 29-10. And then you said some words in the post game just about aggression and kind of what they thought, what they said.
Yeah.
How do you expect them to play? You think it's going to be a different type? I know Cody McMahon, she picked up some fouls early on, and she was kind of their primary defender. Do you expect them to play the same way, maybe 3-4 doubles? What do you look at?
I don't really know, but I think they're still going to be extremely aggressive like they were the first time, and probably even more aggressive just because they don't want me to go off again. So we'll see.
And you kind of talked about players maybe might be shooting better now that before. That's the scout thing. What have you seen from them? I know their point guard against Michigan had
yeah, I think that's what Ricky Harris. Yeah, she shot well. And number 2, Theory. Yeah, she shot well one game too. And they also rebound really well, which is something we're concerned about too. We just got to make sure we lock in on the rebounding end, especially when they are on offense. They have good O-board rebounders. So we just have to lock in on that and make sure we box out those people, because they're extremely athletic and stuff like that. So we just got to stay focused.
Yeah, absolutely. That game, if I remember correctly, in the beginning, you guys turned it over a little bit.
Yeah.
Their press kind of forced you into some tough spots, but when you're scoring 90 points, it's kind of hard for them to set up their defense as well, and you're getting as many stops as you did. If you're on the road and maybe those shots aren't falling early on, and they're maybe scoring a little more, how do you maintain that composure that allows for you guys to not fall into that, the turnovers that maybe plagued you early on?
I think what's good about this team, we've been through a lot of battles this year, so we understand composure is extremely important. And one thing that we have to stay consistent throughout all the ups and downs of a game is just defense, something that we could control. And if we're not hitting shots, we better play defense at that point. So, and then we're turning over the ball. So yeah, we need to play some defense just so we could get some stops on the defensive side.
We'll take a few on Zoom for Diamond. Go ahead, Dylan.
Hey, Diamond. Coach has been talking about a lot lately about getting off to good starts and really generating some good first halves. What's really the key to doing that against Ohio State?
Don't turn the ball over and try to run transition and get them from not making threes. I think that would be our biggest thing, because what we focus on is trying to maintain Mo the whole game, and we don't want them to have Mo. And if we have Mo the whole game, they can't mess with us. I don't think so.
Yeah, and just a quick follow-up, as somebody who's, bringing up the ball, running in transition, what's the key to breaking the press that they're going to throw at you?
Just making good game reads. Running in transition is fast and you don't want to turn over the ball. So just making good game reads and staying locked in.
Sure. Thanks, Diamond.
Go ahead, Savna.
Hi, Diamond. I had two quick questions for you. One is just your thoughts on, now you've seen kind of pretty much the whole conference. I was just curious your impressions of kind of the conference as a whole, having played in it for a few years now. How does this season kind of compare for you to other seasons playing in the Big Ten?
I mean, I think it just shows we gotten better as a conference. I think just in the top 10, there's 4 of us, which is impressive. So I think we're just overall just playing really good basketball. There's a lot of people that want to play in the Big Ten, and it's great competition.
Mm-hmm. And one follow-up is just, how do you feel like the season, kind of from your perspective, taking kind of more of a bird's eye view, has just gone kind of like relative to your own expectations? I mean, you guys are now 23-5, 4 wins against top 10 teams. How do you feel like things have gone, relative to what your expectations may have been in November, maybe even after the Nebraska loss, things like that?
It's kind of weird because I don't think I actually had any expectations for this year. Obviously, we had goals and stuff like that to go to the tournament and stuff like that. But like, I was just taking it one game at a time. It wasn't like I was expecting us to win 100 games or anything. I was just like, let's just play basketball and see what happens.
Thanks.
And last one for Diamond. Go ahead, Olivia.
Hey, Diamond, now that the season's almost wrapped up, you're almost through with your senior year, last game of the regular season. How are you feeling, and how is this year kind of felt for you emotionally as the senior and like kind of the team leader?
Honestly, this season has been very fun, and I know it's very fun because it felt quick. Sometimes when the season feels long, you're like, what's happening? And so, but the season felt quick this year, so it's just fun and just taking it day by day and doing what I do best, which is just play basketball and just have fun.
Great. Thanks, Diamond.
Thank you.
All right, we'll have Coach Frese take some questions here in the room.
Hey.
You mentioned after the Iowa game that road games have tended to present a little bit of a challenge for you guys to not play a full 40-minute game with the quarters really help you guys. Can you talk about what you think kind of, one, the challenge that playing away at Ohio State would present, and 2, just kind of what seem to be the things that they trip you guys up in the away games?
Yeah, well, I think you see in the sport, men's, women's basketball, road games are really, really hard for everyone. It's you have to create your own energy. The fans are against you. It's not your home arena where you're comfortable, and so it's a different element. And I think from our end, we just want to continue to keep learning from those environments where. You take Iowa, we were competitive in the second half. I mean, Indiana, we were right there the entire game. So it's just taking those lessons from those environments and continuing to keep getting better every time you step out. So we know this is a huge task in front of us going into their arena and on senior night. But, I like that this team is just continuing to keep trending and learning.
On the flip side of that, you guys only have 2 road losses. So what makes this team so good on the road? That's the question.
Yeah.
That you guys have had.
Yeah, we have, and you look at the big wins at Baylor and Notre Dame and in conference play with, Purdue and different ones. So, yeah, I mean, it's really hard when you talk about we're already, almost on our 30th game here. And there's a lot of games when you're competing. This is our 3rd game in 7 days. So, it takes a mentality, a really competitive mentality. And this group likes to go in and silence the crowd and, perform really well. So, I think that's the exciting thing as well when you do go on the road.
And this is kind of like, it's a little different. Ohio State's also ranked in a big spot. But, how do you avoid, like, players obviously know it, you know it, but it still seems to consistently happen with some teams, like a letdown spot, you know, coming off a big emotional win. What do you tell the players? Do you kind of stress that, or do you just kind of let them go out and, you know, go as if it's more of a game?
Yeah, no, we absolutely talk about it. We want to learn from others who have made the mistakes so we don't have to make them. We address it. You know, we understand, you know, at this point in the season of the effort and the energy level that it takes. You know, we're gonna have to be, you know, more 9s and 10s across the board when we come in the locker room at halftime if we want to be successful in this game. So it's just a locked in mentality that we have to be ready from the tip.
Shy, obviously, she's getting to go, you know, continuing to kind of emerge here as a second scorer. She's playing a huge role and, you know, as backup point guard basically, and your primary defender on the best going. What have you seen from her as the season's going on, and how crucial will she become March and tournament time? You know, where she's played a lot of minutes and a lot of crucial roles in those minutes.
Yeah, just a massive jump here as a sophomore. You see the growth, and really she's a two-way player. I mean, taking the hardest defensive assignment every single night and then being asked from a scoring punch, and she can score in a variety of ways, and has a lot of offensive firepower for us. But we ask a lot of Shy, you know, to score from the off guard position, to be the back up in the point, and do everything else in between. I mean, she's a huge reason for our success this season, and love seeing the confidence and the maturity and the ownership. Like, this is where you see great players that kind of want that ownership, that they want to be a big time player.
And then kind of off the Ohio State path, thinking back a little bit, when you were recruiting Abby Myers, you know, out here, out of the portal, what type of when you met her, what type of person was she? And then did you talk to her family at all? What were those interactions like with her two parents and maybe with her sisters?
We're super relational in the recruiting process. So Abby is someone we knew from high school, just haven't seen her play. But, you know, once she went in the portal, absolutely, it was, you know, a lot of committed, you know, relationships from October until she committed in whenever that was, April. And then the same, you know, conversations with her mom and dad, and getting to know her twin sister and her other sister, her family. So yeah, I mean, that's a big piece of who we are in the recruiting process, is kind of having that mix of everyone contacting her AAU coach, you know, speaking with him, sometimes the high school coach. So we really get involved with a lot of people that are in their circle.
That's her personality that the same because obviously, you know, she said, you know, coming out of high school, Maryland's down at her dream school, and that was like her idea, and you recruited her. It was always like, that's her lined up with what you thought.
You know, in high school, I didn't really talk to her. I just saw her. I thought there was a seriousness to her, and obviously her play, and there still is. I think there's also a whole other side of Abby in that growth and maturity. And I've always said the joy. I told the staff in the last game, I'm going to miss, you know, the first player doing jumping jacks before the tip every game. Just that kind of wound up energy. Wasn't expecting, but it's a delight. She just plays with so much joy.
If obviously, you know, last year was tough. If you could go back to maybe like April, and if you could like right now transport back, what would you tell yourself? Just kind of where you were at, and then kind of obviously knowing like this season how it came together.
I think you know, in that moment, you know, there were a lot of question marks and unknowns. I think of course you'd be like, you've had 20 years under your belt, you'll be okay. But I think that's also what drives me, is that you don't want the what ifs and we won't be okay. And so I think I'm driven the right way. I think the thing I will say is, I even had this moment this morning when I spoke to my dad, of like just the gratitude of being in a situation that you know, your team is, you know, something pretty special, and these guys have made every single day when you wake up really enjoyable. And you know, it's just been, you know, a way different feel. And you know, I think if you asked anyone on our staff, we love coaching these guys.
You know, they kind of, like, almost the same type of, they play that pressure defense, try to force turnovers, but that also leads to, opportunities for you guys to break the press and force easy fast break points, easy, press breakers, that type of thing. How do you maintain or tell your team to, you probably want to take advantage a little bit of if you can break their press and get some easy layups, but also you don't want to play out of control. What's that like for you as a coach? You have a Lisa with that, that regard to the press break. What have you told her and what you done to this game?
Yeah. It's finding that balance. Absolutely. If you can break it to get easy, great shots, that's kind of always what you're working for in your game plan. Then yeah, you want to score it, but you don't need to take quick, hurried shots that aren't good shots. So just continuing to find that balance, and they want to speed you up. They want you to take bad shots. So I think, having, another opportunity, is just, understanding the game plan.
Thank you. We'll go to Olivia on Zoom.
Hey, Coach. So you touched a little bit Tuesday after the game that Ohio State's gonna want to beat you after you guys beat them by so much last time, and that's how you felt with Iowa. So what do you think they're going to throw at you that's different this game than what they did last time? And how are you guys planning to adjust to a team that's a little hungrier?
Yeah. They've had more time, obviously, to, within this week to throw something in. So I'm sure a lot of coaches try to put in a couple different sets, offensively that they think will hurt us defensively. That's what most coaches do in that off week. They're going to continue to be who they are. They're playing at home. It's going to be more physical than it was here, very aggressive. So, from our end, we're just going to have to value the basketball and, get stops on D. Again, when you're shooting in your own rims, in your own court, sometimes things look different compared to at home. So we're just going to have to really be locked in defensively.
Go ahead, Sapna.
Hey, Coach. I think, at various points in the season, it's felt like there's kind of different things that have been, points of emphasis. In the beginning of the season, it was kind of the chemistry, kind of getting everyone together, identifying roles, figuring out the bench. At other points in the season, it's been the defense. What parts of the team have you kind of seen the most growth, and what parts of it do you feel like you're most proud of in terms of how far you've come from maybe November to now?
Yeah, I think just the trust factor, and I think that's where you see it translate to the trust on the defensive end. They're all really connected, and so that's where the chemistry has grown into the trust and understanding, each and every one of them what they need to do on the defensive end. And I think the same thing on the offensive end. I thought the play, and this is where you talk about trust from Diamond's end, was, she sat that second quarter, and the leadership I saw from her on the bench cheering her teammate. She was the biggest cheerleader, but then that third quarter when she got the steal and came down and dished to E for the layup, I thought kind of full circle moment for Diamond, just the trust level that she now has with her teammates. She doesn't have to carry us by herself. And I think that's where, you can see this team really evolving.
And one follow-up for me is just similar to what I asked Diamond. Just what have you thought about the conference this year? I know you've talked about how strong it is. How does it feel like it compares for you relative to other seasons?
Yeah, it's the strongest it's ever been in the 7 years that we've been in it. And and this, I liken it to when we were in the ACC and it was more top heavy, where you had teams in the top 10. I think the Big Ten has shown, we have all these teams in the top 25, but then even out of the top 25, you get Nebraska, who goes in and beats Illinois last night. So I've said this before, it reminds me, I hope it plays out this way, but of 06, when, we had three teams from the ACC, us, North Carolina, and Duke in the Final Four. I wouldn't be surprised with the number of battles that we've all had and the amount of scoring and defense. A lot, again, depends on your bracket, and throughout the NCAAs, but most competitive it's been.
Thanks.
And we'll wrap up with Dylan.
Hey, Coach, two quick ones for me as well. Obviously a sweep against any team in the Big Ten is hard, but what would a sweep against Ohio State send do you think it would send a message to the rest of the league? If so, what would it say about your team?
Yeah, I think sweeps are really hard, and to beat a team 2 times or 3 times is really hard to do, and something we really value in our program. I think it would continue to just validate consistency. That's who we want to be every time we step out on the court, as the best version of ourselves as a team. So I think that's what it would kind of mean.
You know, and also, you know, with the Big Ten tournament bracket starting to shape up, there's a potential for you to play Iowa again. What would a third matchup be like, you know, I guess intensity wise, atmosphere wise, you know, it's gonna be
I mean, every game's going to be like that in the Big Ten tournament. Yeah, like you're going to have that with Iowa and a rematch from both teams. But you know, now for us, I mean, we know from last year, like you have to come ready to bring it in your quarterfinal game, or you're going home. So it's another level when you start tournament play, because it's win in advance, lose or go home. So they're all going to be like that.
sure. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.